So we're going to start with some sugar florist paste, and you can mix this with a little bit of fondant to give you some more time to work with it as it dries out really quickly. You could also use modelling paste. So you just want to roll it into a ball in the palm of your hand and then taper down one side and turn it into a cone. So you're going to take your wire. I'm using a 22 gauge, but you can use something a little bit thicker, and your needle nose pliers, and you're just going to bend over the top end of your wire so you have a little hook. Then dip your hook in some glue and wipe off the excess, and just poke that into the bottom of your cone and twist it round to secure it. Now ideally you want to let this dry overnight before adding your petals. It's just a lot easier to work with that way. To make your petals, you need to take a little bit more paste and just roll it out as thin as you can. And there you go. Now I've made all my petals in advance to make it easier, and I've put them underneath the Stay Fresh mat. So we're going to take our smallest petals, take the smallest size, don't need that anymore, and take your ball tool, and we're just going to start to thin out the petals. Remember, the more you thin them, the larger the actual petal will get, so keep that in mind. Once you've thinned out the middles, I'm going to just flatten it down. And thinning out the edges is the most important part to make your rose look real. Some of your petals might start to get stuck together, but just lift them away from each other. So I'm keeping my ball tool half on the pad and half on my paste as I thin it out. You're going to take some edible glue and just brush the middle and the edges of each petal. You don't want too much glue, otherwise your petals will just slide around as you're trying to stick them down. Take back your bud and just slide on the petals like so. And for the first round of petals, you want to attach petal number 1, and you need it to be really tight. You want it to be in a tight loop around the top. Just like that. And at this stage, don't worry if your petals tear away from the base, as they'll be covered up with more layers of petals. And then you want to skip one and take number 3 and just wrap that around the first one. like so, and then skip the next one. Now again, you want to leave this to dry. If you're using sugar florist paste, you can just leave it for, say, even half an hour will make it a little bit easier to work with, and you'll be less likely to break other petals whilst you're adding on the next layer. So you can take your next round of petal, which is the same size as the one before, and just do the same thing, going over it and thinning it out. So just do the same again, pick up your petal and thread it through. This time when you're sticking your petals down, we're going to stick down the edge of the first petal and then the edge of the second petal, and you might need a little bit more glue. My petal's actually torn, but don't worry if that happens, you can just cover it up with the next set of petals. So you just go all the way around, sticking down the edge of the petal before. And then just slowly go around, sticking it down. And then you can just take a cell stick and use it to tease open your petals slightly or fold them out a little bit. Just play around until you're happy with how they look. And again, you're going to leave that to dry. I'm going to use a slightly bigger ball tool this time with the largest petals on my rose, and it's the same process. Now with this set of petals, I'm just going to take the ends of the petals and curve them around my cell stick. Not too much, just a tiny bit. And then just glue like normal, and you don't want to put this back down on your pad now, otherwise the curls may flatten out. There we go. Grab this again. Let's stick it on.